So last Tuesday, we had an update that increased the drop rates to the Master Abyssal gear. Now this gear is some of the best that we can obtain in the game right now, as per module 26. It has some of the best bonuses, many of which we have seen already before, and thus they are direct upgrades through item level. Some of them, yes, are unique, like this one in particular for tanks is very useful, along with these arms for healers and DPS, and these arms for tanks and potentially DPS if you aren't running a Raptor build. So how do you obtain all of these? Well, many of you who are doing endgame will probably know. You're gonna have to do the Master Demon Web Pits dungeon. 80,000 item level on private queue. Now in order to get this gear from the dungeon, you have to defeat the bosses. For example, we beat up the first boss right here and we get a drop on the ground, which are the new arms. These ones right here, the Spell Weaver ones, amongst some profession items there. So they just drop on the ground for you. Before, they would drop and you would roll on them between your party. It would be need or greed. Now it will drop for you separately. This is a huge improvement. So they didn't just increase the drop rates, they massively increased the chance that you will get your reward, because now it's based on just you and not your teammates need or greeding on it, taking your loot basically. Now it leads to the question of, can you just go and let's say farm the first boss? Can you just kill it over and over and get all the gear? Well, unfortunately, it's not like that. Each boss drops different gear. And the first boss can drop arm pieces like we see here. She can also drop the helmets. So yes, you could go, jump in your master mode, defeat the easiest boss there is in the dungeon, and obtain all of the helmets and all of the arm pieces. Which is not bad, considering this helmet right here is very good for most classes, along with a 5% damage helmet in Underdark. And then the arms pieces, you have ones for tanks and non-raptor builds, and ones for damage dealers and healers with the extra crit strike. So all things considered, it's not going to be such a bad option to just farm the first boss. Additionally, the first boss can drop that Fallen God's Ore, along with the Abyssal Crystals and the Perfect Marilith Hair. But the only real good thing here is the Fallen God's Ore. It will generally sell for like 200k. We can see we sold a whole bunch of it here, and I've probably made about 5 million worth selling this at this point. It's a core ingredient to all the new masterwork items. Like a lot of magical damage dealers will want the Scintillant Sash and also the Scintillant Amulet. The Scintillant Amulet being notorious for how expensive it is, along with the Scintillant Restoration Ring. The amount of Fallen God's Ore those things need is insane, so that's what's keeping the prices high, and that's why farming this first boss is a very viable strategy. Just be aware it will only drop you helmet and arms. We can go to the second boss and he will only drop you boots and arms. Yes, he has a chance as well to drop the arms. He will again drop all those masterwork materials, so it can be well worth pushing to this point. But I find this boss is usually the bottleneck between a good group and a not so good group. The second boss is where you're going to struggle the most, I've found. The last boss, not so much. This boss requires timing, coordination, and ultimately, yeah, you need those skills to be able to avoid taking damage from those ads spawning in. You need to be able to handle threat from enemies you're attacking, use your immunity frames to avoid taking damage, and use crowd control abilities to immobilize those enemies. But again, defeating this boss will have it drop on the ground for you, either the boots or the arms. Here we managed to get some boots. And then we go to the last boss. When you kill Lolth herself, she will drop you one of the perfect weapons, whatever class. Here we got like the Paladin one, and an armor piece. However, these are chances, and the chance seems to be around 10% for you individually. Again, the first boss will only drop helmets and arms. The second boss, arms and boots. And the last boss, your weapons, and your armor. So if you want to be getting any of that new armor, yes, you will have to be completing the entire dungeon. And some good armor here is the one for the tanks, and then also the outgoing healing one for healers, and the crit severity one for damage dealers. There is a so-so accuracy one. I personally wouldn't take it on any build, other than if you're trying to just have it stand in instead of the Dark Maidens one and you can't be bothered adjusting your build and you're able to fit accuracy, then you would run that in a trial scenario. And otherwise, it's nice to equip on your alts, because when you do obtain this gear, it is bound to your account. It's not bound to your character, which is really nice, meaning you can move it via the shared bank to your alternate characters. But that ultimately sums it up. Again, I found the drop rate to be about 10%. That is just for you. Your drops are completely independent of other players. You can have multiple people drop items at once from the same boss. I've seen it, I've had it. Drop like the boots and somebody else the arms, drop the helmet, somebody else the arms, or both people getting different boots. I think this was a massive improvement. Even with the drop rate still being at about 10%, you have to kill 10 bosses in order to get one of them. It is still quite the grind to get all of the pieces. And then again, there's nothing stopping you to getting multiple of the same piece. For me, I ended up getting like 3 Spellweaver armor pieces in a freaking row. Pretty infuriating. And other people might be getting these combat advantage boots here instead of the ones they actually want here. And yeah, there's still 16 different items and it's still quite a heavy grind when trying to get exactly what you want. I would recommend doing some first boss farms if you're really trying to just get those arms and helmets. But ultimately you will want to just complete the entire dungeon if that's feasible for you to get the chance at getting armor and boots. And then of course getting your weapons if you need. At this point I nearly have all the weapons for every single class, so that's not the issue there at all. They guaranteed drop rather than just a 10% chance. So thanks for watching, and a special thank you to all these channel members for their added support. You can support me for as little as €1 a month by clicking the join button down below. So we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.